Hey there, Ryan Wright with ClearPivot in Denver. In a time when digital marketing is disrupting the old way of doing sales, the reason that salespeople are oftentimes still failing in their lead follow-up is that they've never been trained on something I call creative questioning, and they don't have a proven method to execute a more modernized sales process. So what does creative questioning have to do with the sales process? One of my timeless sales principles is this: the key to an effective sale is not in what you say, it's in what you ask, and in how you ask it. From ClearPivot's inception, we've had to fail forward through a lot of changes. And today I'm going to summarize for you the practical wisdom that I've gained from my 7 years of doing this creative questioning, and I'm going to give it to you in a way that you can have immediate field application. Assuming that your understanding of the product or service you're selling is functional and usable, you should feel confident in proceeding through the sale with the following discovering questions, and I'm going to break it up into 6 areas to make it easier for you. Needs, timeline, revenue, interest, budget, and authority. Let's get right to it. Every salesperson with even a little bit of experience knows that you must and shall ask about a prospect's needs. That's a given. But there are 100 different ways to ask about those needs. And let's be honest, you can't always come to a discovery call with a bunch of research-based information that will tell the prospect things that they don't already know about their business. So before my prospects pull me into the tactical weeds of their problem, I go to strategy as immediately as I can right off the bat with the following 3 questions. Would you mind just fully describing to me, until the point where you can't add or describe anything else, what the real need or problem is here? And who besides yourself has a stake in this problem? That's first question. Second one is, how long has this been a problem? And how does this affect your role and work there? The third question is, and this is after you've discussed the problem and you can repeat back to them some understanding of what they've said, say, if we fix this and we knock it out of the park, what's next after that? After you're done talking about needs, next, move directly to timeline. Keep it simple, and remember, your potential buyer is still in control of this process, and not you. How soon did you want to decide on a solution or a partner to this problem? That should be your first question. Try to get their sense of how soon they want to get started, or if they give a start date that's more than 2 weeks without a reason, then ask next, or say, yes, we can definitely do that. At the same time, I'm now curious, why later and not sooner? The key to effective timeline discussion is to realize that you are educating and advising, not selling. Pushing for the sale today when the prospect won't be ready until tomorrow always smells like desperation. Buyers today already know that you need to make money from your sales, so use that knowledge to slow yourself down, gather information, and in your own mind, use their answers to discover your own why for why it is you want their business in this situation. All right, after you're done with needs and timeline, you're going to have to move to that sensitive part of the conversation about revenue. Every salesperson knows it. Talking about money is the most sensitive part of any sales discovery call, but it's got to be done. And the myth out there today is that talking about revenue is the same as talking about budget availability. But you've got to leave budget alone and ask some general overarching questions about revenue so that you can get a sense of where they're coming from, whether or not they can afford you, and also whether or not they may not realize how different your services are from whatever else they're shopping for. 4 questions. What drove you to look at our services, to look at a company like us in the first place? They may not be able to answer that, but it's important if anything went into that. Next question's a little bit more difficult, but you got to ask it. Is everyone happy with the way sales and marketing are going at the company? General question, and the way you ask it is more important than that you ask it. Third question is, are you doing anything new or different with your sales and marketing processes? If there are any big changes, any new directions that they're taking, it may have a bearing on how soon they can work with you or whether or not your services are a fit. And last question is, if anything, what drives or inspires your salespeople other than money? So it's important that you know the culture of the company you're speaking with. Believe it or not, all those questions lead into revenue. Companies typically don't like talking about their revenue, but it's important for you to learn about that in the discovery process. Next section is about interest. You would think that by now in the conversation, obviously if they're continuing to talk to you after needs, timeline, and revenue, that they're still interested, but actually you don't know how strong the level of interest is. And you can't remind yourself enough that your potential buyer is in control of this process and not yourself. Don't disqualify them by level of interest until later in the call. Many potential buyers of B2B services are interested in buying things, but few of them understand the nature of what they are buying. Don't be afraid and just ask the following questions. Number one, how did you find us, and what started the process of looking for someone like us to meet this need? Now, I know I asked a question on revenue that's similar to that, but depending on how they answered, you actually may want to go back to that. So leave that question in there. While most people use this only to tell them the source of where their lead came from, which is important, we all want to know that, I use it to set up a second question that allows me to check the strength or their level of interest in hearing a solution from me. If you choose to work with us and we knock it out of the park, what would your reputation stand to gain from us being successful on your behalf? People don't buy 100% on emotion alone, but I still see salespeople not giving enough credit to the serious and important emotion involved in the consequences of a decision maker's choices. So make sure that you ask, what would success look like and what would be next after we accomplish this? With budget availability and what they are expecting to spend, be soft and firm, but not aggressive and fast. Just be straight with them and ask, what, if any, budget expectations did you have for the kind of work that we do? Secondly, if their revenue goals seem too ambitious, then ask, would it be all right if I asked if you're considering other agencies to engage in a solution to this? It's crucial to ask this question early because their appetite may be bigger than their stomach. They may not understand how to shop for what they're looking for. They may compare apples to oranges in taking your services and prices and comparing it to someone else without understanding how they differ. So you want to ask about budget because you might have to shed light on your industry and specific kind of work and why it has big value, especially, and here's the key to all this, you want to shed light on your industry before you tell them what your price ranges are. Build the value, show intellectual curiosity and sincerity, and then talk about prices. I left authority for last because the creative questions I've been talking about almost always reveal to you the authority level of the person you're talking to. Unless it's a large organization with hundreds of employees or multiple levels of bureaucracy, the answers to all these questions should inform you whether the person you're talking to is the right person or whether there are more stakeholders involved. There's a few reasons you want to talk about authority and actually treat it as a segment instead of trying to subtly throw it into the questioning process. You want to actually have it as a section that you work on in the discovery call. The person you're talking to may have a personal stake. Depending on what B2B product or service you're selling, that person, be it the marketing director or sales director, may stand to gain a lot personally from what you do. And that's an important element in the persuasive process. You may also be talking to the wrong person. As unfortunate as it sounds, a lot of times this creative questioning process I've used all the way to the 50-minute or 60-minute mark reveals to me that I'm talking to the wrong person and that who I need to be talking to is their boss or their boss's boss. And in order to make the next meetings that you have successful, you got to find out who those people are and either get them on the phone or shut the sales process down. The other thing is, without knowing their authority level, you don't really know what the next steps are. Can you ask them to do homework? Can you ask them to bring somebody else on the call? Will they have to then take your proposal and sell it to someone else, which normally isn't a really good solution. You need to be selling directly to the decision maker. So make sure that after you go through needs, timeline, revenue, interest, budget, and then authority, that you figure out, kind of what their authority level is so that you can know what the next steps should be. So to wrap it all up, creative questioning, intellectual curiosity, and sincerity. It's basically those three things. Start with these categories that I went through and the creative questions in there, and shape and adapt those questions to your specific qualifying and discovery process. And here's the key: relentlessly tweak on it and chisel it until you get it down to about a 60 minutes or less process. In the B2B world, there is a lot to cover. Services and products can sometimes be complex, or there can just be a lot to go through. But you want to make sure you make that 60-minute process efficient, but you want to also make sure that you differentiate yourself from all the other discovery processes out there. If you happen to know or sense that their problem or your solution to their problem may take longer than 60 minutes to discuss, just tell them up front and clearly explain why it's going to take that long. Buyers need to know two things about your discovery process to have a good reason to keep talking with you. One, that you are intellectually curious, and two, that you have an absolute sincerity that the problem they are facing matters to you.